Ozzy Osbourne, what an explosion. You had to be a tremendous inspirational source for the moment.
Fantastic, man. The British Bulldogs forever!
The Wild Man.
If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I wanna talk to you. Friends Talking Nerdy.
Welcome to Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim the Nerd, and seated next to me we have, adorned in multiple colors like Joseph in the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, we have Professor Aubrey here. And even though I've tried to start things off here with a moment of levity, we are coming to you today in a moment of sadness. What is that sadness, you may ask? We are a day past finding out the news that musician, singer, and the voice credited with creating heavy metal, the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne, has passed away. Definitely sad news. And, we've discussed on the show many times before, even finding out that it has a name. That parasocial relationships can be weird, when there is a celebrity that has been involved in your life in some way, shape, or form, and involved in your life in the sense that, in this case, you listened to his music, you saw his music videos, you bought his albums, you attended concerts, or stuff like that. It can mean a lot to you. So when he passed away, this is just my time to mourn the past, but also talk about one hell of a legacy.
There's lots to say about the Prince of Darkness himself.
That's right. Someone who could have, heavy metal icons say good things about him with his passing, as well as people like Pat Boone, Donny Osmond, and Kermit the Frog coming out with nice things to say about Ozzy.
Oh, Kermit.
Yeah.
What did Kermit say?
Well, I came prepared. I didn't have to pause the recording or anything to find out what Kermit said. But anyway, this is this is on our social media here. It's a picture of a piece of paper, and it says, "From the pad of Kermit the Frog." See what you did there?
Get there.
Yeah. No one rocked harder than the great Ozzy Osbourne. We loved working with him on our album Kermit Unpigged. He recorded Born to Be Wild with Miss Piggy, the perfect song for both of them. Every time we bumped into Ozzy over the years, he made us feel just as cool as he was. We loved having a friend like Ozzy Osbourne, and we feel so lucky to have known him, worked with him, and experienced his music for so many decades. So there you go.
Very sweet.
Even Kermit the Frog had something nice to say about Ozzy. Now, I wanted to ask you, I know you are a fan of his, but I would not call you anywhere near like his number one fan in the world. I would say you're probably someone that at most he would probably fall under like a greatest hits category. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, he's someone that people around me have always loved, especially, boys. And I have listened to it in that context, the boys like this. Through that and through the TV show, I came to really feel like I knew Ozzy and how funny and ridiculous he is.
Yeah, he was, and I can't believe I had to say that. He was a perfectly imperfect person. He owned his bad mistakes. He didn't, try to rationalize any sort of bad things that he's done. And he's done plenty of bad things because he was human, like all of us. There's no such thing as a perfect person. And sometimes people that you love and respect and hold in great regard have sometimes done some things that they should not have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the mark of a person is how they go about trying to make amends as much as they can. And because I think, Ozzy lived his life, I think understanding that your life really is a judgment of the entirety of your life. It's not about isolated events that happen along the way because, most people can say that they've done something bad that in the eyes of someone else, you could understand why someone would think that was bad. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, being a boy myself. Yeah, he was definitely one of those figures that, once you heard about him, it was just like, I gotta check this out because, you would have parents come and be like, don't listen to that Ozzy Osbourne. He bit the head off a bat. And when you're, a young kid, you're like, that's fucking cool, man.
He built the head off a rat or a bat,
Yeah.
not a cat.
No, that we know of. But growing up, loved watching, his videos, listening to his music. Loved hearing him on Howard Stern. His appearances on Howard Stern, not only just himself, but with his family as well. We're really the impetus for the Osbournes reality show.
Really?
Yeah, someone had the bright idea of let's take what they're doing on the radio when they're a guest and film it every day. And reality stars were born at that particular time.
Yes.
I did have the honor of seeing him in concert.
Yeah, and in Michigan.
Yep. Valentine's Day, 1999, I went with my friend Chris, and Pantera opened up.
Oh.
Another one of those tragic losses too, because I saw the original lineup of Pantera, but sadly, the lead guitar player was murdered in the early 2000s by a deranged fan who was upset that Pantera broke up. And then the drummer, who was the brother of the lead guitar player, he ended up passing away a few years back. But ended up seeing the original lineup of Black Sabbath in person, and that's one of those opportunities I'm glad I took, even though it was on the other side of the state.
Uh-huh.
You know me, I can get overly anxious about anything, and I was extremely anxious about the highway, and I really didn't want to take the highway. So I ended up going to the public library and getting a book of maps of the state of Michigan and finding out that there was a road that starts in Grand Rapids, but not necessarily starts in Grand Rapids, but it's like one of the main roads in Grand Rapids. It used to be the old state highway.
Right.
And that road would take me all the way to Flint, Michigan. And then once I was in Flint, I would take another right, and then that would take me down to, the hotel that my friend Chris and I reserved for the night, and then we'd be able to go to the palace. We ended up getting a little lost, but we ended up finding the hotel, checking in, and then we went to the show. We were rushing and trying to find seats and everything, but just one hell of a show. I mean, one thing I can say, having, now that I can say I saw Ozzy live, is that, he is the epitome, I think, of what makes a good rock and roll lead singer.
And what is that?
Taking his energy and kind of giving it to the audience, if that makes sense, because Ozzy from the start was jumping around, clapping, come on, you fuckers, clap, and, just running around the stage and just kind of having a good time. I mean, you see Mick Jagger kind of do the same thing, Jagger's just not standing at the microphone singing. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think that is the mark of a good showman because, for shows like that, we're not talking like in a club with a small stage. For even just an arena show, it's a pretty big stage, and so basically Ozzy in a lot of ways. Ozzy being a member of the WWE Hall of Fame, the 2021 WWE Hall of Fame. I think he did understand, what some of the wrestlers do in terms of understanding that he needed to play to the cheap seats as well. You can't be subtle in the art of wrestling. If you're hurt, you have to do it in such a way so that the person at the very top, the cheapest seat, will still be able to see you. And the same thing with Ozzy, just running around on stage like a maniac and everything.
Yeah.
It was great to see. Great to see. But what we wanted to do, and we do this anytime we have a major musical legend pass that, spoke to us. And I want to, put that disclaimer there too, because there have been plenty of times where music legends have passed, but they haven't really spoken to us. Like Sly Stone, for instance.
Right.
We recently lost him. Amazing musician, but I can't say I'm the biggest fan in the world, so it did not feel right to talk about that. This is something I feel is important to talk about because when it comes to music, that is their legacy. This is the stuff that 100, 200, 500 years from now, people are still going to know the name Ozzy Osbourne because of his music.
Wow, you think 200 years from now?
Yeah.
There's no way to know, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, things could definitely change because, even though I just laughed right there, I know David Bowie I read an interview with Bowie where somebody asked him, do you think they're still going to talk about your music in 1,000 years? And he goes, oh, God, no. They're going to be on to something different.
Yeah.
But in terms of the history books, just because of Ozzy's impact in terms of creating heavy metal, I don't think heavy metal music will go away. It will change, and one change that I love seeing is that Japanese group Baby Metal.
Oh, uh-huh.
Like three young girls singing pop songs, but the music's metal.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. But anyway, we put together a playlist of 12 songs. 9 of the songs included were part of the set list for Ozzy Osbourne's last concert, which just happened a couple weeks back.
I know, like 3 weeks ago. It's very ironic because that was his farewell tour.
It was called Back to the Beginning, and they had a number of legendary bands played, like Guns N' Roses were there, Metallica,
Oh, wow.
just a bunch of people were playing, and it was all for charity. And before Ozzy passed, they did announce, and I'm willing to appease the cynic in me by saying that when it comes, when words like this come from a promoter, you got to think of it like, a professional wrestling promoter stating, we sold 93,000 seats. So maybe the numbers are slightly inflated, but they did say that they raised over $190 million for local kids charity and Parkinson's research, and
Wow.
that concert was to date the largest money-making charity concert ever.
That's impressive because we've had Live Aid, Live 8,
Farm Aid,
Farm Aid, Greenpeace Aid.
Greenpeace Aid.
That's right, Greenpeace Aid.
Yeah,
Everybody knows about it.
that's right. The Indigo Girls played that one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Greenpeace Aid.
yeah.
Anyway,
REM
R.E.M., yes.
and the B-52s. It was great.
B-52s?
Yeah.
Indigo Girls and P-52.
Hey, they were both from Georgia. They played together all the time. They were both lived outside of Atlanta, as did Mike Sipe from REM.
Yeah, like shiny, happy people.
Mm-hmm. So, there's a whole Georgia thing going on down there.
Georgia. So anyway, what we're going to do here is talk about the songs that we chose. Again, 9 of the tracks that we're going to discuss were a part of the last concert that Ozzy sang. We have added 3 additional songs, and I'm also thinking too, there might be a good chance that after we record this, I might just throw some other songs on the playlist as well, because like any of our playlists, you can go to our show description and you'll be able to find that on YouTube. But Ozzy's just made a lot of great music, so why not start at where it all began? The very first track off the very first album from Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath.
Yes, the song Black Sabbath.
That's right.
And it's one thing, like, I guess, when you already are aware of someone's reputation and then you hear a song like this, you don't necessarily get that feeling of what it was like the first time when somebody in 1970 put this LP on the record player and put that song on to hear it for the first time. The person who bought that may have listened to some loud bands before, because like Iggy and the Stooges, I think, were known at that particular time. You had the MC5. There were definitely some loud bands, and there were also some bands that did dabble in darker topics in their songs. But this song here, Black Sabbath, just Wow. I mean, it's a perfect song to listen to on the headphones because it envelops you. But even without the headphones present, like you just feel like you're in this world that they're making, that they're showing you, and you're seeing Satan himself, chasing after you and stuff like that. You feel like you're actually in it.
Yeah, and you don't want to be chased by Satan, just as a general rule.
That's right. That's right.
To be avoided
Sometimes.
all the time.
Yeah, well, you got to go where the good albums are, though, right?
Well, maybe once you retrieve all of those from Hades.
Yeah, it's part of the River Styx or something like that. One
Hmm.
of the things. Yeah. Anyway, the song itself had what was called a tritone interval, dubbed the Devil's Interval, which gives the song its famously eerie sound. It was considered forbidden in medieval music, and that's the dun, 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 that happens in the song. The song itself was actually inspired by a classical music piece called Mars. So, and if you heard that song, and future Tim will put that on the playlist as well, the Mars song, so you'll be able to kind of hear what it sounds like. But really good. It was inspired by a real life paranormal experience bassist Geezer Butler had after reading a book on the occult.
Uh,
I'm always skeptical of hearing stories like that when these people that experienced it, were heavy into drinking and drugs. It's like hearing like Nikki Sixx, the main songwriter from Motley Crue, stating that that he had a paranormal experience after writing the song "Shout at the Devil."
uh-huh.
He initially wanted to call it "Shout for the Devil," but apparently in
Uh,
the heyday of their drug and booze parties and all that stuff, he supposedly had a paranormal experience. And me, the skeptic in me, is stating, maybe you were just high. you know,
yeah, you have to be pretty high.
yeah. You're pretty high when you see things. But
When you see things that aren't there, you bite the heads off rats.
exactly. This song essentially created the genre of heavy metal with its slow, doomy tone and horror-themed lyrics. Now, I remember as a kid, my dad was a Seventh-day Adventist. I believe he still is. Great advertisement for that place. Anyway, he tried to lecture me about, Black Sabbath. Because Seventh-day Adventists, they go to church on Saturday
Uh-huh.
and they call it the Sabbath and whatnot. And he goes, they're against religion. And it was like, no, they got their name from a Boris Karloff movie.
Uh-huh.
Nope, it was against religion. Shut up. Yeah, just what are your thoughts? I know you listened to the playlist. What did you think about this particular one? And shout out to friend of the show, Eric Dolbert, for recommending that I put this on there. This was not saying this was not used at the concert.
I love this song. It is the epitome of what I think of when I think of Black Sabbath, of course. And what it must have been like, as you said, to put your needle on the record for the first time and hear those opening chords. But then to hear his voice, like it really shows off his range and, how eerie he sounds when he screams stuff. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and it's one of those deals too, like, growing up in religious circles, you would hear a lot of people try to critique Ozzy and Black Sabbath and the subject matter that they sang about. And while Ozzy was never a role model in any way, shape, or form, I did think a lot of the songs that he sang, including something like this, were very much supportive in a lot of ways of what, the ideal that the Christian community, in this particular case, wanted. In this case, when Satan is running after you, it's not a celebration. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Help me,
Yeah.
So anyway, great song. Any other thoughts on it?
No.
All right. How about I dive into the next track?
Okay.
This is from his solo career off of his first solo album, and I don't believe it was performed at the final concert, but, just one hell of a track, Crazy Train.
I can't believe this wasn't performed with Farewell Concert.
I mean, you got to remember, like Ozzy was dealing with Parkinson's, and did the performance sitting in a chair. The chair was like a throne, so he wasn't like even when I saw Ozzy back in '99, able to run around and do stuff. So you got to think too, because of the fact that he was sitting in a chair, with his medical issues being what they were, it's possible that some of the songs he just couldn't do it.
But he could do drugs.
What do you mean?
I mean, wasn't that just what you were saying? That he was on drugs? I don't know what you're talking about.
No, he was no. For his medical issues, he was prescribed a variety of stuff. But for the performance a couple weeks back, he did not take his pain medication.
Really?
Yeah, because he felt it would have inhibited his performance, and kept him from doing the type of performance that he wanted to do, that what he could do, at the very least. So, Ozzy, yeah, he loved his drugs. Let's put it that way. He loved drugs and alcohol, but I think the last few years of his life, it definitely was not like the heyday in the '70s and '80s.
Well, sure. I'm sure that somebody couldn't do that for that long.
Some people have tried, some people thought, Ozzy was be one of those people. But anyway, the song Crazy Train, a couple bits of trivia here. The iconic guitar riff was written by Randy Rhoads and was inspired by classical music theory. Ozzy's famous laugh at the beginning was a spontaneous addition during studio sessions, and the lyrics address the Cold War and fear of nuclear war, not just personal madness. The thing about listening to the first two Ozzy solo records is the big what if about Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads was the first lead guitar player that he had for his solo band, but I believe in '84, '85, tragically died in a private plane crash when Ozzy and the band, some were in the plane, some were on the bus, including Ozzy. Ozzy was on the bus. The pilot for the plane thought it would be a great idea to buzz the bus as it was going along the road,
Ah,
and lost control. And
fuck.
yeah, and ultimately killed, I believe, everybody on the plane, including Randy Rhoads. And Randy was initially the lead guitar player for Quiet Riot before they first hit it big. The people that come on, feel the noise.
Oh, I know Quiet Riot.
Yeah, those guys. But he was also a contemporary of Eddie Van Halen. And if you listen to, like this solo, for instance, like if Randy had lived, I don't think Eddie Van Halen would have suffered, but I think we would be talking about two rock gods from the '80s, two guitar gods from the '80s, and not just Eddie Van Halen.
Sure.
Yeah. But anyway, your thoughts on Crazy Train?
Great song. Really love this one. It's one of, obviously it's one of his iconic songs.
Yep.
And it's fun to sing at karaoke.
You've done it before?
Mm-hmm.
All right. High five.
High five.
Rocking out.
Going down off the rails on a Crazy Train.
Yes. I could go along with the argument from some people that maybe this one is a tad overplayed. Sometimes you do need a break from some songs. Like me with the Beatles, I've been open about the fact that in the past, I've had times where I didn't listen to them at all. It's not that I didn't like the Beatles. It's just I had listened to them so much that I needed that break. And I think Crazy Train is one of those songs because it's kind of one of those things too. Like you kind of hear it everywhere, like at sporting events, they'll play it,
Yeah. It's a very inspirational song.
Indeed. But how about I go into the next choice here?
Okay.
All right. This is a classic, and I think this, to me, is like one of the ultimate anti-war songs ever made. War Pigs from Black Sabbath.
Such a great track. Absolutely love this song.
Yes, for the past few years, it has been the theme song to War Games at Survivor Series for the WWE.
Really?
Yeah, and the first time they did it, they even had Ozzy introduce it.
Wow.
Yeah, so there is that. But also, too, for a metal song, if you think about it, like the opening part of the song is just basically the drummer with the cymbals kind of tapping away at him in a real quiet tone. And there's more venom in this song in the lyrics too. I think that's one thing you don't hear enough about Ozzy with his lyrics, in the fact that he can get pretty darn political, and he's not using the flowery language that some may do in terms of protest songs. He's calling people out for being evil and shooting straight from the hip. Well, anyway, the track was originally titled Walpurgis. The song was more occult themed before becoming an anti-war anthem. The siren sound at the beginning was an afterthought added to simulate air raid warnings, and it was heavily criticized by religious and political groups despite being an anti-war statement. Shock of all shocks, right?
This is where he added those sounds, like the ambulance sounds and
The air raid warning at the
the
beginning.
air raid
Yeah.
warning sounds. I knew it was a siren of some sort. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the opening song of the farewell concert.
No, the last three songs that Ozzy sang were Sabbath songs, and this was one of them. The songs that, because the list I created, I did mix into my own little thing here. So off the top of my head, don't recall where it was sang, but it was one of the last songs that he sang live.
There was a coffin involved. Like they played the air raid sirens, and then somebody gets carried out on stage in a coffin, which I assume.
I don't recall that.
Did you watch the whole thing?
No, I mean, the full footage has not been put out yet. I mean, you had people putting on little clips that they recorded that attended the concert, sure, and there is going to be a movie coming out detailing
Of the
whole
concert.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah, this is what I saw was like somebody had recorded at the concert.
gotcha. Yeah, so I didn't catch that part. The air raid sirens, I can imagine being that they grew up in England, they were, World War II kids. They were kids that had to, were born in bunkers while Germans were bombing England.
He was born in 1948. So it had been a while since the Germans were bombing them.
Okay, slightly later, but still, I could see it striking a nerve in the generation of when this song first came out. Any other thoughts on War Pigs?
No, but I will, just because I mentioned his parents, I will say that he was actually really close with his parents, especially his father. He really admired his father and thought he was a really nice person. And that was surprising to me because you think that somebody dark like that has had a dark past, but it seemed like really he was more of a class clown and a performer.
I can imagine, like, if, you had taken young, 10-year-old Ozzy Osbourne and time traveled him to today and had doctors check him out, they probably would have found something like ADHD or something like
Oh, sure.
that in him. Also, in his late teens, early 20s, he did participate in a robbery. So
Right.
he did, in his early life, had a little bit of legal issues as well. But again, he's not defined by that incident. Obviously, he rose above that.
Yeah, I mean it happened when he was very young, and so it was probably kind of a formative experience.
Yep. Yeah, it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I better sing.
Hmm.
All right, how about I go on to the next one here?
Yeah.
All right. I was so glad that he ended up singing this, and that Zakk Wylde, the lead guitar player from the album that this came from, was there to play as well. But Mama, I'm Coming Home from the No More Tears album, one of his absolute signature best songs, whether it be with Sabbath or his solo work period. This is in the top 5, I believe.
I agree.
Yeah, just one hell of a song. One of the few songs where Ozzy co-wrote lyrics inspired by his relationship with Sharon. Now, we've kind of talked about this in the past before. Ozzy was not, when he quote-unquote wrote a song, it wasn't a situation to where he took out a pen and paper and was like, I'm writing Mama, I'm Coming Home by Ozzy Osbourne.
Uh-huh.
Verse 1. What he would do is he would let the band create the music first, and then he would essentially just sing gibberish over it. Gibberish in the sense of it would be legible words that were coming out of his mouth that he was singing, but it was just the first things that came to his mind, and he would do it over and over and over again. And then they would, splice, hey, I like this word, I like this verse here, but how about you take that out, and then we can add this in type of deal. It's like a mix and match type of deal, because that did throw me when I heard that, but then I heard that there were other performers like Paul Simon, does something similar. Like Paul Simon has stated in interviews that it had been years since he did the pen to paper and writing the song out type of deal. So yeah, and he did like to call Sharon mom or mama.
Well, a lot of times people who have children with a person will call them mom or dad from their children's perspective.
Yeah, I get it. Co-writer of the song, Lemmy.
Lemmy.
Lemmy from Motorhead. Good friends with Ozzy. Sharon actually managed Motorhead as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she managed a number of bands over the years. And also, too, this was also around the time to where financially Lemmy was in a little bit of dire straits, because I've talked about with Motorhead before, like, for as influential as they were, they didn't exactly make millions upon millions of dollars. So getting a chance to write for an Ozzy Osbourne album, especially one like No More Tears in the early 90s that hit it as big as it did, because the next little bit of a trivia here is that it became Ozzy's first solo top 40 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. That had to have made Lemmy a lot of money.
Yeah. Plus a lot of cred. Street cred.
Gotta love that cred. Mega cred.
Mega cred.
Yeah. So, classic song. Like, it has country-ish type elements too, but it is clearly a metal ballad.
Yeah, it's an interesting song. It doesn't sound like the others.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little sweeter, even.
Agreed. Not like the next track here.
Which is what?
Nib from Black Sabbath. NIB, off of one of their early albums. Despite rumors, the acronym NIB doesn't stand for anything satanic. It was a nickname for drummer Bill Ward's beard.
Oh.
The lyrics are from the point of view of Lucifer, but in a love story context. And this is one of the earliest examples of Sabbath's use of bass guitar as a melodic lead instrument. Geezer Butler opens the song. Now, on the playlist, I chose the album version, so there's a couple of musical tidbits that happen before the Nib song occurs. So in like the greatest hits albums, when they include NIB, it'll be just the NIB part and not the early parts. But the once the bass guitar starts doing a little solo deal, and then just monkeying around in the silence, and then oh yeah, it just. It's got a groove, and I think that's one thing I like about Sabbath too, is that they have one hell of a great rhythm section. Like, you are moving when you listen to their music.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They've got the immediacy of the drums, right, or the driving beat.
Any other thoughts on Nib?
This one I didn't know so much. Nib.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
It's probably not one that people are like, oh yeah, Nib.
I think like fans like me, yeah. I mean, we know that, but even then, I would say this is not their War Pigs.
Right.
It's like a step or two below that.
Right.
Which is sing a song, still a great song. All right, the next song here is one of his solo work called I Don't Know. What did you think of that when you heard it?
I don't know. It's a good track. Like, some of the tracks on the playlist, some of them I was like, oh, yeah. Love this one. I know it. It's great. But then there were others where I was like, I've never really heard this song before. That's why I listened to the playlist several times, because I wanted to have more of a reaction. But I find that I don't really have more reaction
That's fine.
to this one in particular.
Well, Couple bits of trivia here. It's the first track on Blizzard of Oz, Ozzy's solo debut.
Solo debut, Blizzard of Oz, love it.
Yep, setting the tone for his post-Sabbath career. Randy Rhoads combined elements of classical guitar technique in his solo, and the song's lyrics reflect Ozzy's own uncertainty about the future after being fired from Black Sabbath. What I also like about it too is, again, kind of, going back to, some of the stuff I heard growing up in like religious circles about, Ozzy's like so so pro evil, he loves Satan, blah blah blah, type of deal. And yet I go back to songs like I Don't Know, and he's done other songs like this as well, to where ultimately the message is, I'm just a guy. I don't know the things about life, I'm just, trying to survive myself, kind of telling people to, hey, be my fan. I like it. I love you being my fan, but don't come to me looking for answers for, everything that life has to offer, because I don't have them. I don't know.
And anytime you're dealing with the occult, people want to know what's the truth of that and what's not. I mean, I know he didn't really deal with the occult, but his band really exploited that idea and that segment of the population as a sort of built-in audience.
Yeah, because Black Sabbath, their whole deal with their music is that they wanted to be the musical version of a horror movie.
Oh, there you go.
And, if you think about, horror movies, the horror movies have plenty of fans. And I think over the years have gained a lot more appreciation. That doesn't mean, you have tons of people still going out of their way to watch them. I mean, some on occasion you'll find, like the Scream movies, for instance, will get public interest where a lot of people will go. But, being that it's a horror movies seem to have lots of sequels really, really quickly, year after year.
Leprechaun, for example.
Yeah.
Leprechaun 12.
Or something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is my 6 degrees of separation from Star Wars, but anyway.
This Leprechaun?
The Leprechaun series, yeah.
How so?
I'll discuss it on the show, so thank you for paying attention. I'm kidding.
I can't remember everything that you say on the show.
I know, I'm playing with you, but I went to college with a guy by the name of Paige Kennedy, who ended up going out to Hollywood and becoming an actor himself. Didn't really, it's like, he's still very much a working actor. That's, one thing people don't realize about Hollywood is that for every Brad Pitt, for every Julia Roberts, there's, 100 or 1,000, male and female actors out there that are earning far less money, but still, finding, regular work in Hollywood, even if it's just, showing up on screen for one word. But he was in the direct-to-video classic called Leprechaun, Back to the Hood.
Oh.
He's on the cover and everything. So, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and the star of Leprechaun Back to the Hood was Warwick Davis.
Of course it was.
Yeah, so that's my 6 degrees separation from Star.
I bet that was fun. Warwick Davis and Ozzy.
That has, I don't know if Ozzy ever met Warwick Davis. I'm talking the person I went to school with worked.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gosh, sorry.
Yeah.
Not tracking very well.
It's late, folks.
It is late. It's late on a school night.
All right. Well, how about I go to the next track here? We're going past the halfway point here. This is another one of his solo work called Mr. Crowley. And the song is about Aleister Crowley, the infamous occultist whom Ozzy read about in a book.
Yeah.
Yep. The opening organ solo was composed by keyboardist Don Airey in one take, and the guitar solo by Randy Rhoads is often ranked among the greatest in rock history.
Wow.
While I would not necessarily go that far, it is pretty damn good. I mean, Randy Rhoads, again, we lost him way, way, way too soon. Myself, this is one of those tracks too that, like the religious folks will point to and like, see, huh? But even then, if you really dig into what Ozzy was saying, it's like it was a guy that fascinated him, but I don't think he necessarily agreed with how Aleister Crowley did things. I don't think this is a full support of I'm your biggest fan,
Right, he was a very important figure.
Yeah.
And so you might write and sing a song about him without it being a love note.
Exactly. Exactly. Any other thoughts on Mr. Crowley?
No.
All right. How about I go into the next track?
Yes.
This was awesome seeing it live in 1999. Iron Man, Black Sabbath, off their second album.
So good.
And just think of that, too. Their second album had Iron Man. It had War Pigs. It had another one that we're going to be talking about in just a second here. But
Brilliant album.
brilliant album. Despite the title, the song has nothing to do with the Marvel superhero. It's about a man who sees the apocalypse and is turned to steel. But I will say, it was this song in the Iron Man trailer, the very first, the teaser. It was this song that made me like perk up and like, whoa, and maybe I gotta see this movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because it was the end of the teaser to where it's like, you hear like the environmental elements, but there's like no music going on, and then there's a tank that shoots at Iron Man, and he looks at the shell as it goes by him, and then he turns, raises his arm, and like a rocket shoots out of his suit, and then he turns and walks slowly towards the camera, and then that's when you hear the opening lick to Iron Man, and Ozzy improvised the "I am Iron Man" line during a vocal take, and it stuck.
Oh, nice.
And there was a meme that kind of hit hard, and I teared up a little bit when I had somebody put two shots from Avengers Endgame. And the first shot, it said in tiny letters, Ozzy 2 weeks ago. And it was the picture of Tony Stark holding the glove that had the Infinity Stones on it when he said, "I am Iron Man." And, then that part of the meme symbolized, Ozzy on stage. And then the bottom of the meme was like later in the movie after Pepper Potts, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, finds Tony Stark, and it said, Ozzy today. And then it was her line, "You can rest now." It's just like, yeah.
Aww.
The riff is one of Tony Iommi's most iconic and came to him during a warm-up session.
Wow.
Yeah. There's also a point that Henry Rollins that he spoke about. There's a point in the song where that part of the song, and then I just hummed it very badly. But if you hear it in the actual song itself, Henry Rollins talked about how that is kind of difficult for a musician to do, because it's like you're going down and then suddenly you have to go right back up again. And yeah, just brilliant song. Anyway, how about we move on to the next track?
Sounds good.
All right, the next one here is one I had to add because easily one of my favorite solo Ozzy songs, "No More Tears."
That's a great song. I'm glad that you added that one.
Yes. The song is over 7 minutes long, making it one of Ozzy's longest solo tracks. The bass intro was played by Mike Inez, later of Alice in Chains, although Bob Daisley played most of the album's bass parts. And the lyrics reference a serial killer, though Ozzy has given multiple contradictory stories about its exact meaning. I love the guitar solo in this song. Like, easily, I would put it down as one of my favorite guitar solos ever put to record. This is the type of guitar solo that puts hair on your chest. It's just, it rips. And this was my first introduction to Zakk Wylde, even though I believe this is the second album that Zakk did with Ozzy. And Zakk, when this came out in the early 90s, I don't even think he was 21 yet. If he was, it was just at 21 or 22. He joined Ozzy when he was 19.
Wow.
Yeah, so the things he's seen.
Yeah. I mean, imagine being 19.
Yeah. Anyway, "No More Tears." What are your thoughts?
It's just a great song. I think all of these songs, they epitomize Black Sabbath. And there's so many of them. There's so many good songs.
And Ozzy's solo career, of course. This came from his solo work.
Yeah, I kind of associate them so much with each other. Like for me, Ozzy is Black Sabbath.
That is the thing. I mean, I get what you're saying too, because it's like people thought that Van Halen did not continue when Sammy Hagar joined the band because they were such David Lee Roth fans.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Which does remind me, like back when they replaced Ozzy with Ronnie James Dio, apparently when Ozzy would do autographs on Black Sabbath albums that people would give him, he would write, from Ozzy, not Ronnie James Dickhead. So, though later Ozzy was a little more conciliatory. Conciliatory in the sense that, he talked about, the anger he felt was similar to what you would feel about in a divorce. Essentially, Ronnie James Dio was the new girlfriend that his, that his partner ended up finding that, he didn't like, so he was jealous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, how about we move on to the next track here?
Sounds good.
And this song here is the last song that Ozzy Osbourne ever sang to an adoring public. Paranoid.
Aw.
Off their second album called Paranoid. It was written in about 20 minutes as filler for Paranoid. The engineers, determined that with the amount of songs that they had on there, they needed an extra song. And sometimes bands will create what is called filler music. And that's just something that they come up as quickly as possible in order to just get it on paper and get it recorded so they can, complete the specifications of what the record company actually wants. But this was one of those filler things that ended up getting a life of its own.
Mm-hmm.
The song became their biggest hit despite being an afterthought, and the working title was The Paranoid, but it was shortened for simplicity.
Right. The article there is really confusing.
Yeah. One of the greatest songs in rock history, easily. And listen to what I said, that one of the greatest. I'm not saying it is the greatest, but like this is something that I feel should be in the pantheon of great songs that represent the best of the music genre.
I agree. It makes me feel paranoid when you ask me questions like that.
Okay. Well, how about I go on to the next one then?
Okay.
All right, we're almost done here, folks.
Ozzy would have appreciated what a good time I'm having.
Yeah. Suicide Solution. He sang this at the concert. This is one of his solo works here. One of, I believe, off the first solo album, if not the first, the second one. But the song was controversially blamed for a teen suicide in the 80s, sparking a major lawsuit. The solution refers to alcohol, and the lyrics are about the dangers of addiction, inspired by Bon Scott's death. And guitarist Randy Rhoads helped create the haunting tone with layered solos and effects. And, that's another thing that I look back on with Ozzy's work, and that's, even though he's had a lot of those wild and debaucherous type of, adventures that a rock star would, like, he's also been very open about the negative effects that type of stuff can have. We go back to Crazy Train, he's, done plenty of songs about the importance of minding your mental health. And this is another one of those songs that, to where it's showing he was a lot more responsible as an artist than, our parents gave him credit for.
Well, okay. But he also was an addict for most of his life.
And which kind of negates the message of the song, because in a sense it is the do as I say, not as I do type of thing. And those never really hit well when it happens, whether it's, you're hearing it from your parent, like, don't smoke weed while they're hitting the bong themselves. You're not going to listen to that person. You're not going to take them seriously. So to your point, I can understand it.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, at least he tried. It wasn't like he was trying to ultimately celebrate, and be like, yeah, Jack Daniels for everybody.
But he might have been down with that.
In the right circumstance, yeah, of course he was. But anyway, let's talk about the last song here.
Okay.
All right. My friend Chris would have been upset if I did not include this song on the list. And you, as a fan of the Netflix show Big Mouth, would have probably been upset if I did not include this. Changes.
I love this song.
Yes, the song features no guitar, which is rare for Sabbath. It's built around piano and mellotron. Ozzy wrote it about his divorce from his first wife. I believe he only had two wives. Showing a rare emotional vulnerability, and it was re-recorded by Ozzy and his daughter Kelly in 2003, becoming a UK #1 hit.
Yeah, this was when the show was on.
The reality show. I do remember that Sharon Osbourne briefly had a daytime talk show of her own,
Yep.
and Ozzy and Kelly were on there singing, her version of Changes. It shows too that as a singer, he did have range. It wasn't like, Bon Scott or Brian Johnson, the two lead singers from AC/DC, singing essentially the same song over and over again.
Right.
Ozzy had a deep well that he could go to of emotions that he could convey on tape, and Changes, one hell of a song.
It's really such a good song, and it describes so well transitions. It's a good transition song.
Which I felt was kind of the right choice here to kind of close things off, because death is a transition. For me, I don't believe in an afterlife. I believe once you're gone, you're gone. But in this set, when it comes to artists, though, like, their work will live on in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what great enrichment of the world. And, as long as the music is still popular, is Ozzy really dead? Doesn't Ozzy live on in his music?
Exactly. I agree with that.
Probably people who actually know him, or his children, or his spouse, do not feel that way.
Yeah, and obviously we don't know the future. Like 100 years from now, people could, know about Ozzy just as much as the average person on the street knows about Sister Rosetta Tharpe. So while we don't know what the future is, like, we sit here as fans, like me, a much bigger fan than you, but he, for all of his faults as a human being, and he had self-admittedly would have been the first one to tell you all those faults. Like, what a hell of a life, and just what a hell of a legacy. All right, any other thoughts on Ozzy before we wrap things up?
I really like Ozzy. I'm not as knowledgeable about Ozzy as you are, obviously, but I thought he was a cool dude.
Yeah, I agree. If you can get Donny Osmond and Pat Boone to say nice things about you when you're called the Prince of Darkness, you must be doing something right.
When you could get invited to the White House by George Bush II for the...
It wasn't technically him. I think that was for the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Correct.
Yeah.
But he was at it.
Well, yeah, yeah. And
he got invited to it.
Yeah, and George Bush gave him a shout out.
Yes.
Yeah, there is video.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, but there will be nothing that will be a coked up Ozzy Osbourne at WrestleMania 2. British Bulldogs forever. If you go to our show description, you can click on the link that will bring you to our YouTube playlist that we've created for this. And like I said, future Tim will be putting on some extra songs that we have not discussed on here as well, because Ozzy's career was more than just 12 good songs.
It certainly was.
Yep. All right. So, any other words for our friends at home?
Nope.
You're like, hey, how about sleep? Yeah. Sleep is good. All right. Each Monday we'll have something in this podcast space to entertain your ear holes. Until we meet again, we bid you adieu.
So long.
Generals gather in their masses.
Just like witches at black masses.
Yeah.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy
on YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Goodbye, darling.